morning, everybody. Welcome to Bull City Hangout 10-3. I'm Pat Murray. I publish the Durham Skywriter. That's Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. I invite you to check it out at durhamskywriter.com. Now, when I do Bull City Notes and tell you what's happening today in Durham, I'm just reading just a few things from the current issue. And it is production week, so you will still see a lot of September items, which will be changed over into October within the next few days. That's why each issue covers the first 2 weeks of the next month to give me time to change everything over in time. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with the word page. Now, with it being the weekend, I do like to remind you of two particular programs. The city's Water Hardship Fund, that's for people who have fallen behind, really far behind in the water bill. You can get help up to $240 worth. Also, the county, DSS, Social Services, they have an emergency fund. They might be able to help you with your rent or your mortgage payments if your job has been affected adversely by COVID-19. There's other ways that you can, that you can get help. Grab some water real quick. My throat is super dry. But there are other ways you can get help, and they are listed on the word page. So be sure to check that out later on today. Let's see. Also, I like to tell you on the weekend, because that might be the only time that you can get your paperwork together and your files together in order to apply. Okay, Durham Tech Small Business Center. So Durham Technical Community College has a wonderful small business center. It's downtown, and of course, all the webinars, all the classes, etc., are online. So it's kind of a rare occurrence, but there's one happening today. It just started, so you might want to tiptoe in. They might not mind you're being a couple of minutes late. Then you can watch the rest of Bull City Hangout later on the replay. So SCORE has something called the Advanced Internet Marketing webinar, and that is going on right now until noon. It just started. So you go to the word page, scroll down to Durham Tech's Small Business Center, register real quick if you're allowed to, and then see if you can tiptoe in late. All righty. Another program I wanted to tell you about, NC Works Next Gen, and it's a program built on referrals of young people ages 17 to 24 who are in dire need of help. And when I say help, they can get, for example, they can get paid classroom training, for example, if they want to get a particular type of job. Paid classroom training, work experience, internships, et cetera, things like that. So when I say in dire need, I'm talking about like low-income young people ages 17 to 24. Maybe they were laid off due to COVID-19, and they're really, at odds in terms of how to make money for their families. Also, maybe pregnant, or what they call justice involved, homeless. So, and homeless does include not being in your own home, and maybe parking on someone's couch, so to speak. Sometimes friends help out friends. That can be considered homeless in terms of getting help. So be sure to check that out. So scroll down on the word page to NC Works Next Gen. Now, you cannot refer yourself. You have to be referred by an organization of some kind, which I think probably includes houses of faith as well. All righty. So let's go to the neighbor goodies page, because something big's happening over at Mike D's. So Mike D's Barbecue is a brand new shop. It's in this new, they're having like a renaissance over at Anger and Driver. So many new businesses opening. It's incredible. So Mike D's Barbecue, you might not know that this new business owned by Mike De Los Santos, okay, so they were featured on the Discovery Channel's show called I Quit, and that's based on people who have quit their jobs in order to start their own businesses. So apparently he's been competing on this show. He was featured, or the business was featured on this show. It's called, again, I Quit. And the last episode, the finale, will run today. And then we will learn who among, the contestants of this show will get $100,000. Mm. So let's fingers crossed for Mike D's barbecue. So all day, of course, they're going to have specials, and also I think they will be screening the different episodes of I Quit. So you can hang out, watch the episodes, get good deals on barbecue supplies, barbecue sauce, of course. What is their slogan? Throw some D's on it. So be sure to check that out. Oh, let me also tell you the store hours from 10 until 7 today. So let's hope that Mike D gets his $100,000. That would be super incredible. So that would be awesome. So let us now go to the health page. It's called To Your Health. And the only thing I wanted to mention, besides the fact that I do have COVID-19 testing information on the health page, I also have reactivated the health events button. It's blue. You click on that to see about, the support group meetings, etc. But I also wanted to tell you about a series, a mental and emotional health and wellness series starting Monday at 7. It's hosted by Nakikia Wilson. She is a mental health advocate and coach. So starting at 7 o'clock, it's going to be like a 6-day, like a seminar workshop series on mental health. So I'll tell you in more detail on Monday, but I just wanted to mention that because you might want to join her group so that you can attend this free 6-day workshop series. So she was my guest a couple of days ago, so you might want to check that out as well. Let's see. I think it's pretty much it for the health page. So let's go to, oh, no, it's not it either. One more thing. Let me scroll down. Today is the day for the 2020 Fall Walk to End Bladder Cancer. This is a virtual walk, sort of like a do-it-yourself type thing, since people cannot gather in great numbers in the parks. So this is going to be where hopefully you're able to raise money to end bladder cancer. And this is sponsored by the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network. It starts at 11 o'clock and you walk wherever you like. And you can read all about this. It might not be too late to sign up. So again, it starts in about, let's see, a little bit less than an hour. It might not be too late to sign up. So just go to the health page. It's right there in the middle of the page. Just scroll down and you will see it. All right, now let's go to Sport and Life. That is the sports page. And I have reactivated the big green Great Outdoors button. I talk about activities and events in 4 big parks, and that is the Eno River State Park, Falls Lake State Recreation Area, Jordan Lake State Recreation Area, and William B. Umstead State Park. They're all open now. They don't have events just yet, but you can enjoy the parks. Also, I have information on the Durham Parks and Recreation's outdoor events. And of course, there's a lottery in place I've been talking about. If you want to visit Lake Mickey or the Little River Recreation Area, you do have to enter the lottery the day before. So tomorrow's Sunday, so you will enter the lottery today before 6, and then they will let the winners know via text. And just to let you know, Lake Mickey is allowing non-motorized boat launches and fishing on the banks. Little River is allowing fishing on the banks. That's pretty much it. Also, they're going to have historic tours of West Point on the Eno Park. That's going to be today and tomorrow at 2. And then historic tours of Lee Farm Park. And that's also today at 2 o'clock. All right. Now let's go to the Let's Go page, the last page that we will be visiting, and that is the calendar of events page, the most visited page for Durham Skywriter. And by the way, I had a wonderful time yesterday playing music I love. I'm also a DJ Kitty Cat, and I had so much fun yesterday playing music at the bus station downtown. I just love it so much. I just want to thank whoever showed up. It was a blast. It was a blast. And people were better this week at dancing a little bit further apart. So be careful about that. So here's what's going on right now, with today being Saturday. The South Durham Farmers Market is open until 11, and they are way south on Highway 55 in the Greenwood Commons Shopping Center. Also, the Durham Farmers Market, they're in Durham Central Park until noon. Also, the Durham Craft Market, same hours, same place, Durham Central Park. They're across the street, though. And then, let's see. Oh, that already happened. Okay, that already happened as well. Okay. Yeah, oh, the Nehemiah Christian Center, they have their big give back grocery giveaway going on right now. It just started. So if you are in need and if you need groceries, head over immediately to the Nehemiah Christian Center. They're on Mangum Street downtown. And if you're driving, just hop over in the trunk. They'll put food in there. If you are on foot or on the bus, they do ask if you have a foldable, one of those rolling shopping carts, take one of those because they will bless you with a bunch of good food. And that is going on until noon. Be sure to check that out. Also this evening, a little bit later, Downtown Durham Inc. They want us to come back downtown and enjoy ourselves, shop, eat, hang out, whatever. So they have something called the Streetery, and that is on Fridays and Saturdays from 5 until noon. They'll have buskers, those are street musicians, and this week's buskers are Ashish Chatterjee, Ari Haney, and David Scott. Also, the restaurant, some of the restaurants are still pickup only, but some also have outdoor eating, so you can sit out. It's going to be, let's see, it's going up to 70 today, so that's actually pretty perfect, especially out in the sun. So be sure to check out the Streetery, downtown Durham, from 5 until 9 this evening. Okay, now tomorrow there's a couple of things happening. New Visions of Africa restaurant, they're giving away food tomorrow. Now, they usually give away meals on the weekdays, but on Sundays, they have a big grocery giveaway. They do ask that you wear a mask. You get in line at 11, sign up. You just give your name, no big deal. And then at 11:30, they hand you a bag, and then you can just choose whatever groceries you like from the picnic tables. They usually have a beautiful layout. So this is going to be tomorrow. And really, that's really, really wonderful. Believers United in Progress. No, Believers United for Progress. They're the sponsors. So, yeah, that's really great. They do this every Sunday. Also tomorrow, I don't know if you've ever heard of boomerang bags. And basically, these are cloth bags that are handmade by just regular folks. And basically, what they're trying to get us to do is to use less one-use only bags, plastic bags, paper bags. So the idea is when you go shopping, you pick up a boomerang bag, take the goods home, and then hopefully return the bag later for reuse, or just use it again when you go shopping next. So don't waste Durham. They're holding a boomerang bag sewing party. And this is going to be at So Crafty. So, SEW, I know, clever. So Crafty, and that's downtown. So basically, because of the quarantine, only 6 people at a time will be allowed into the studio, but they do ask for help from those of us who know how to sew or iron. And basically, they're going to make as many bags as they can tomorrow from 12 until 4, from noon until 4. And you can go to their Facebook event page for more information. It's listed right here on the Let's Go page of the Durham Skywriter. Just scroll down to the correct date, which will be October 4th. I think that's pretty much it. So the link is right there if you'd like to join me on camera. It's very casual. Hang out, shoot the breeze, share information. That would be awesome. Also, like I said, it's production week. Let me put up a little graphic. So I highly recommend that if you want information to be put in the Skywriter, to let me know about it. So you can contact me. You can find me on Facebook. Also Twitter, Durham Skywriter. Send an email to durhamskywriter@gmail.com. That would be awesome. Again, the information will go up to the second week of November. So I welcome any and all information. It would be also awesome. Also, I'm accepting advertising again. I haven't had, well, actually, I never did stop running people's ads. I just wasn't collecting ad revenue because I didn't think it was fair. But it looks like the economy is opening back up. So if you would like to advertise with the Durham Skywriter, super great rates, by the way. Just let me know. Just let me know. So let's see. Let me check the comments to see if anybody wants to join. So no. It is Saturday. I want you to go out and have a great time. And I don't even think I gave the weather report, did I? Right now it's 57. It feels a lot warmer, probably because the sun's out, but it's gorgeous out. It's 57, sunny, a great time to take a wonderful walk, which is, I think, what I'm going to do in a few minutes. And then it's going up to 70. It's going to be sunny all day. It's going to be absolute perfection. Then tomorrow it's going up to 68, but it's going to be cloudy. That's okay. I don't think rain's in the forecast. Where's my phone? Let me check for the rest of the week real quick, if you don't mind. Please indulge me. Let's see. So tomorrow, cloudy. It's going to be sunny Monday through Thursday. Let me check the high temperatures. So Monday, 72. Tuesday, 73. Wednesday, 79. Thursday, 73. Friday, partly sunny, but it's okay. It's going up to 70. Weekend, it might rain on Sunday. 73. That's not bad. It is fall after all, and I can't complain because I'm from Chicago where it gets an awful lot cooler during the fall. Quick sip. Hey, Curtis is here. Promise keeper. Let's see what's going on with Curtis. Yeah. Curtis, what's new?
Hey, how are you, sister? Got your graphic?
This is so rude. Okay, there you go. How are you, Curtis?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Sorry about that.
Whoa.
Sorry about that. I'm on my iPad here.
It's gray shirt day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And check it out. I have a new Durham Skyrider sweatshirt.
Oh, woo. Nice. Is it a sweatshirt or a t-shirt?
It's a sweatshirt. Long sleeve.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. I like that. Right. I see that you
promote.
What's that? Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry for the lighting. The lighting is not the best here.
Oh, that's kind of strange because usually, because that's the same room you're usually in, right?
Yeah, but you see. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better.
Yeah. My lighting's weird because, on Saturdays, 2 hours early. And so I actually had to close my back door because the light was like right in my face.
Right,
I didn't even see the screen. So what's new? What's happening in Texas? Former Chicagoan.
Right.
Like myself.
No, I'm still Chicago. I'll always be Chicago.
You know what? You're right. Because, I feel the same way.
Be Chicago.
I feel like I'm both. Just like I'm black and a woman. So I can also be a Chicagoan and a Durhamite at the same time.
Absolutely. But yeah, I've been busy doing some stuff, some editing for a few clients, and it's been good though.
Nice. I'm hoping things pick up for me. Did things fall apart for you or slow down for you during this COVID-19? Because for me, like I was just saying, I haven't been collecting ad revenue. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping, actually, I spoke with two of my advertisers a couple weeks ago, and they're back on board. So hopefully everybody else will rejoin.
Absolutely.
And I'll get new ones, I hope, as well.
Absolutely.
So how about you?
For me, to be honest, it actually picked up. Yeah. So I've been pretty busy, actually. So I got a couple of projects I'm working on right now, and I've been pretty busy. Yeah.
So is it mostly social media? Is it websites and social media?
Yeah, it's mostly websites,
accounts?
Not so much. Yeah, it's mostly creating websites and not so much social media, but essentially just creating websites and stuff like that. And so that's for the most part, creating websites.
I don't know if you ever get to watch the show when Guy Cook has been dropping in like every day. He really enjoys hanging out.
Yeah.
Bull City Hangout. But he was talking about websites. I guess that's something he does as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some new, I don't even know if protocol is the right word. Mm-hmm. He was telling people who make websites to make sure they have some of the latest protocol because something's going to change. I don't know. Is there something new that you're doing?
I mean,
that you have to be aware of?
Let me put this out here. As far as building websites, I essentially just use WordPress, and I know a little code, but not enough to, not necessarily
Mm.
the code master or anything like that. But
I'm
so I,
glad. I'm glad you're out there because WordPress is very, very popular and very, very
yeah.
adaptable and very, very difficult for me because
Well, you know,
I looked at it and decided on Weebly.
oh yeah,
I love Weebly.
really?
I
Yeah.
love it.
I
Wait,
have
you
you
see
know,
my little website, right? I mean, it's perfect for my
it's
kind of
been a
website.
while. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I did. It's been a little while ago, but yeah, I did see it. Yeah,
I shouldn't say
absolutely.
little website like it's nothing. It's actually
Yeah,
pretty gigantic.
yeah. I've seen it. Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know much with Weebly, but I think with Wix, I know with Wix, and I'm not a really fan of Wix at all, but I know with Wix that once you're done with your site, you can't take it with you.
What do you
So
mean take it with you?
meaning that like if you have your domain, durhamscribewriter.com over on Wix, just hypothetically, if you had it there, you can't take it with you, meaning that like with a WordPress site, you can basically kind of almost like roll it up, if you will, and
Hmm.
then take it to another platform because WordPress is so popular. But with Wix, uh, any content that you create over there, make sure that if someone's on Wix, make sure that you have some kind of you duplicated that information or that content somewhere because you can obviously you can take your domain,
I would hope so.
but you can't take the site with you. So the
Oh,
content
that
that's on
makes
the
sense. Oh, yeah, that actually makes sense. I don't know.
not really,
Well,
because if you,
I'm not a
well,
real
no,
web
what I'm saying
builder.
is that it, it it doesn't really make sense because for the fact that a person could have spent a lot of time in putting together their site, and so for whatever reason they decide to leave Wix,
Hmm.
guess what happens? That means that they can't take that site with them for all the work that they put into building that site. And so you
Yeah.
want to be able to have that. You want to be able to have that information go from
The,
one
I
site to
guess
another.
I guess the way I envision it is
Hmm.
if I had to move, I would expect to be able to pack up all my gear and my clothes and move, but not take the whole house because it's not my house. That's how I envision it.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it, but at the
I
same
don't know
time,
how accurate I am though.
well, no. I mean, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. But it's one of those things that again, when you're building a website, if you spent X amount of time in building it, you've got everything just right.
Hmm.
Again, much like with a WordPress, you can take a WordPress, move it to GoDaddy or to many of the other hosting companies.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay,
But
okay,
with Wix you can't.
I understand.
So
Okay, I see.
that's
Well,
just
the reason why I like Weebly, and I think Weebly was bought by somebody, and I think it might have been Wix or
mm,
a company, a competitor. It might have been
right,
Wix,
right, right, right,
but I love it because it's simple. It's drag and drop,
right,
and
right.
as a one-person news media
Hmm, hmm.
outlet, I don't have time for coding, and I mean, I barely have time to update. You know what I mean? Because
Right, right, right.
there's always new stories every day, and I'd rather concentrate on writing and typing out the stories than and because when I looked at WordPress, it just looks so advanced.
Well, I mean,
For me, I'm
well, no,
inexperienced.
no, I completely
Yeah.
get that, but I think that with anything, if you kind of take the time, because there's usually always some kind of video on YouTube, and
Hmm.
Tati and I, we talk quite often, and
Hmm.
I just tell her, she'll, I mean, if one thing that she could say about me is YouTube is definitely my go-to,
Oh,
and
for
so
sure.
I could probably say I've got a couple of degrees, a master, doctorate.
Wow. All right.
Over in YouTube, but nevertheless, there's a lot of information to learn out there. People are always willing
Mhm.
to share. So, oftentimes, a lot of the plugins that you might use on a WordPress, you've got someone doing a video about it.
Mhm. I
You
love
know,
YouTube so much.
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people complain about it, and of course, those are usually people who are trying to make money off of YouTube in terms of monetization, which is
Absolutely.
not what I do.
Mm.
But I you never want to learn anything. I was just amazed because this is so off the topic. I was so amazed. I love to watch cleaning and organizing videos
Yeah,
as well.
a lot of people do that, and I was like, but
It's
a lot of
it's
people are
it's
interested in
it's
it.
inspirational.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
it's so because then you
Okay.
go and then you go clean out your car when you see someone cleaning somebody else's horrible car. But here's the thing: I learned
Mhm.
at my late age that you can lift the top of the stove, just like the hood of a car,
Mhm.
and clean under there. I was shocked. I had
Really?
no idea. Did you know that? You can lift the top of the stove. It lifts. It's on a
Oh,
hinge and
yeah, yeah. I
everything.
was aware of that. Yeah.
Oh,
It's so funny, Pat. Pat, you need to be a comedian. I told you that before. You heard me say that on the show. You're hilarious, Pat.
well, actually, I was brought up in a house where we loved comedy. We used
Hmm.
to, you know, how a lot of families sit around listening to music. We used to sit
Yeah,
around listening to comedy records,
yeah,
and we learned that I think Pop said something like there's humor in almost anything, which is
right,
true.
right.
Which is true. Even at the most inappropriate times, humor is there.
Absolutely.
I guess it's all how you carry yourself. You might not want to make a joke in an inappropriate time,
Right,
but the
right,
humor is
right.
still there,
Absolutely, absolutely,
and you can't take
absolutely,
yourself too seriously, which a lot of
absolutely.
people are doing right now.
Mm,
You know, with their
yeah.
political views and
Well, I think with life, you have to learn how to be flexible, and and I would say, whether it's politics, relationships, just life in general,
mhm.
um, dealing with clients, customers, you have to learn how to be flexible because for me, much like you had given your example or your view in regards to your house, like with the domain, it's words that
Mhm.
you can take everything with you, but you can't take the house, so
Right.
that was
As
very
much as
interesting
I
way
would
of,
want to.
yeah, exactly. There's a very interesting way of looking at that. But in the same fashion, um, I look at, again, having to be flexible, like an aircraft, if you will,
Hmm.
and how an aircraft, coming from myself, coming from that space, working as a flight attendant for many years and also a flight dispatcher. It's interesting that,
Cool.
yeah, it's interesting as a flight dispatcher. You learned that obviously the aircraft is not it's made of metal, but within the metal there's room for flexibility.
Hmm.
And so what happens is that if you've been flying for a person been flying for an extended period of time, I guess, we're just watching the aircraft or even from the inside, or obviously from the inside, that that when the aircraft hits some kind of wind,
Hmm.
you could see the wings either flapping almost like a bird, because
Wow.
if there were not that flexibility, the plane would break in half.
Whoa.
And so, how much more do we as people need to be flexible and not so, you know,
Rigid.
absolutely, this is my stand, I blah, blah, blah,
Hmm.
because those are the times where it leads to people becoming very radical about their opinions to the point of killing someone and killing someone thinking that they're right about what they believe. And so,
Hmm.
it's not just uh, individuals who come from foreign countries or the Muslims or the different groups. It's
Hmm.
people here in this country as well. They're kill,
Absolutely.
they're killing
Yeah.
people for their rights, or their so-called rights, I guess, and they're so rigid about them that there's
Hmm.
no room for anyone else's view. No room for differences of opinion. Much like you
Hmm.
explained, about the house, taking everything, very even a very unique way of explaining it. But nevertheless, I think if we were more flexible like that,
Hmm.
because with anything, it's going to be in life. Our opinions, our ideas, they're going to be placed against public opinion, especially when we put them out there.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, and so there has to be room because there's going to be conditions, always conditions coming against something.
Hmm.
Situations coming against something, our beliefs, our stand on something, whatever, because someone is going to be the polar opposite of it.
Right.
So
And it's good, like you did, to be able to see from the other person's point of view, even though
Absolutely.
you might not agree, but you can
Absolutely.
see where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
And I come from uh, a non-technical background.
Right, right, right.
So to me, drag and drop is ideal. And it's just like when I got my first computer in the 1980s,
Hmm.
the two programs that were going head to head were PageMaker, which is now InDesign,
Hmm.
PageMaker and Quark Express, I think it was. PageMaker was for people like me,
Hmm.
novices.
Hmm.
Quark Express, that was designed for designers, people who already knew about word processing and graphic
Hmm.
design and putting documents together. PageMaker had far less features, far fewer
Right.
features. And for quite a while, Quark Express, when I first got my computer, they were kind of almost even. But
Hmm.
Quark picked up real fast because the professionals were getting computers, and of course
Right.
they wanted Quark, and they would laugh at PageMaker because they said, "Well, we can move objects around to 1/100th of a
Right. Right.
pixel."
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas, I was still moving things by quarter inch, thinking, "Oh boy, this is really cool."
Right. Right.
But you know what happened? Eventually, PageMaker ruled because more
Mm.
people like me, I guess, joined the fray in terms of getting
Hmm.
uh, computers and starting to do desktop publishing. But it was interesting how there were two separate camps for quite a while, and
Right.
PageMaker and Quark would, one would gain more in popularity, and the other one would gain, and sometimes they'd be even, and then it was crazy. And
Right.
now I don't know what happened to Quark. I know I stayed with PageMaker until it was time to switch over to InDesign, which is now, I guess, the industry standard for some people who do word processing, at least at the professional level, because it's like $1,000.
You mean word processing, or is that what you
Um,
said?
Page design, I guess that's the
No.
correct
Yeah.
term.
Because but
Word,
in
I
it.
say word. I'm saying word processing because some people simply still just create straight ahead documents,
Oh. 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 Okay. Okay.
which is
Yeah. Because
probably what Word is better
well,
designed.
I think InDesign now is part of Adobe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure InDesign.
It always was, but
Oh,
what
it
I mean,
always was. Okay.
I
Okay.
think actually when I first, actually my first,
Because I've
uh,
actually never, I haven't used InDesign before. So, but
well,
I.
PageMaker, when I first got my computer, they were on PageMaker 3, and it was
Hmm.
Aldus PageMaker.
Hmm.
And I think Adobe bought it from Aldus.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
then it evolved. And actually, I guess the people at PageMaker knew that, of course, the other program
Hmm.
uh, was far, far more advanced. And they
Right.
started improving as they gained market share. They,
Sure.
they started, actually, they were really clever because they started out for novices like me and then got to the point where they were siphoning off professionals from the other platform, from Quark Express.
Absolutely.
To the point
Absolutely.
now, it's like the. I think Quark fell by the wayside years ago, and now InDesign appeals still to novices, but also appeals to professionals as well. They did it the smart way.
I think for me, like I said, I love that graphic design element of just just creating content and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I'm not a graphic designer. But I know what looks good.
Hmm.
Just from the by eye, if you will. And I'm a creative person essentially. But the program that I use, and because I know InDesign, I don't know if it's sold separately, but it is part. I know it was part of that Adobe suite.
Yes, it's
And
you pay now. I think every month. It's like
every
some
month, yeah, exactly,
cloud.
yeah,
Yeah.
cloud based, yeah.
Hmm.
But and I was telling Dr. Tati is that I use a program called Affinity Designer, and
Mm.
they are absolutely awesome, and they rank right
Mm.
there up with Adobe products. They
Ooh.
have a trio of products. It is Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher, and Affinity Photo, and they rank top right there. And
Okay.
the cool thing about those, because I know the last time we were talking about software before, you gave me
Hmm.
a lot of content, and for that trio of apps there,
Hmm.
it's a one time fee for each of them,
Nice.
and they're constantly updating. Just trying to keep up with the industry standards.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think at one time they were only charging $25,
Hmm.
half of just 50% off
Yeah.
from what their normal cost is. I think it's 49.99 or something like that. But
Hmm.
I have each of those products, and that's what I use to
Nice.
create different
I'm
things,
gonna look
whatever.
up Affinity. I'm gonna write that down. That sounds
Oh,
interesting.
the website is Serif, Serif.com.
Okay.
So,
I'll put that in the show notes later. Okay.
mhm. And
Um,
like I said, it just you don't have to pay that subscription fee. And there are
yeah,
some things
I
that I
don't
would
think
use
that's
for it.
I don't think that's really fair. I don't like the cloud-based monthly fee.
Yeah, it's
I don't
yeah.
think that's fair. Now I have paid through the years. Let's see, when I first bought PageMaker in 1989,
Hmm.
it was $369.
Right.
Then every few years, my voice cracked. Every few years, I'd have to pay like a nominal fee, like a
Hmm.
hundred or whatever,
Hmm.
to get the upgraded level of PageMaker. When I joined InDesign, back then was like $1,000.
Hmm.
I have no
Wow.
idea what the rate is, but because I was a legacy user, I think I only had to pay maybe $200, and I was able to switch over to InDesign,
Hmm.
which is so much like PageMaker. It's just
Right.
it's just better.
Right. Right. Right.
But what I don't like is um, like if you're young,
I'm looking
suppose you're.
pretty. I'm looking pretty chocolate here, aren't I?
I do wish you had like a little
A little bit more light.
key
I'm so
light. Is that
sorry.
the word?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I. Yeah. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can just a little bit better here.
If you had a like a desk lamp or something. But you said you're on
Yeah.
your iPad, right?
Yeah. My iPad.
That means
Sorry.
you can go into the kitchen then or somewhere, right?
Yeah. Let me see if I can change to a better location. Hold on.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because we want you to look good.
But there's nothing wrong with chocolate, though. Of course, though.
Oh yeah, but you want to be, lit in such a way people can
Yeah.
actually see your face.
Let's see if it's. I'm at the kitchen table now. So.
Yeah, my kids. Actually, you're not going to believe this, but my professional setup is my ironing board,
Oh, okay. Hey, that works.
and behind me is a behind me that curtain that you see is
Hmm.
actually a painter's tarp
Okay.
that slide across the door
Hmm.
entrance for to create kind of like a backdrop.
Yeah, that works.
Oh,
So
that's a lot
hopefully,
better. There you
some
go. We can see you
better.
now.
I'm sorry. So
That's good though.
all this
Yeah.
moving around here,
Well,
but
it's Saturday. It's casual.
yeah.
It's
So
casual Saturday.
yeah. So yeah. But yeah. I think if you check out those software that website serif.com, you'll see that
Surf.com.
they are a very popular trio of apps that will really help you out, and
Mm-hmm.
again, just eliminate that fee, or at least
Mm-hmm.
the Adobe fee, because
Yeah.
with Adobe fee, if you're not a student
Mm-hmm.
or a teacher, it's like $50 a month.
I think I'm paying. I don't know. It's not that much because I
Mhm.
don't have the whole suite.
Oh, gotcha.
But what I don't like about that fee, like if you're 20 and you're starting out,
Hmm.
how much are you going to be paying by the time you get my age? If you start out at age 20,
Oh no,
I mean,
but
you'll have paid tens upon thousands
right.
of
Well,
dollars. Oh my God.
I think the thing is too is that with be Adobe or any of those other monthly product or those apps that have those monthly fees, is that, I mean, obviously is that you want to have the clientele to be able to help pay for it,
Oh, that's true. Of
so
course.
that's things
But
like that.
still,
But
I'm just thinking the principle once you add it up, though, you know.
It is a lot of money, but I mean, well, remember, I don't know if you remember back, I guess a few years ago, before Adobe went to their monthly subscription fee,
Hmm.
there were a lot of people who, because Adobe at the time were selling their products separately,
Yeah.
and they
Hmm.
cost a fortune,
Yeah.
but
InDesign
never,
was
yeah,
$1,000.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And so they were selling those items separately. But then, so what happened for the people who sold them or who had purchased them,
Hmm.
and then when they went to that monthly subscription, guess what? They were out of hundreds of thousands of dollars over a period of time.
Hmm.
Hundreds or thousands of dollars because each every year, remember, Adobe had an update, and you had to
Hmm.
pay for the
That's
update.
that's you're describing my situation.
Right. And then so when they went to the subscription model,
Hmm.
guess what? That again, a lot of people like yourself and many other people had essentially just like, really, really, you guys,
Refinance their
yeah,
success.
exactly. But yeah, I was kind of late to the game in regards to working with Adobe because I was using a bunch of
Hmm.
other different software.
Hmm.
Um, I was using Logic Pro for Mac,
Hmm.
and I've been using Final Cut and
Okay. Oh,
for
that's
Mac.
the video
Yeah,
software.
video editing and
Yeah, that's what I use. Final
the
Cut Pro.
DAW. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. I use Pro
Awesome.
Tools.
I
Oh,
use Final Cut Pro X. Is it X
oh,
or 10?
yeah, 10. Oh, Final Cut.
Yeah,
Yeah, Final Cut
yeah,
10. Yeah.
that's what I use.
Okay.
I started out with iMovie, as a lot of people do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Absolutely.
it got to the point where I guess I just outgrew it. I wanted to do more.
Well. That's that's
So,
that's kind of what I was. That's interesting you say that because that's kind of what I was, I guess, alluding to even with a Weebly. So it might be
mhm,
drag and drop, but like you said, at some point we evolve. You know,
mhm,
we
mhm.
want more. We
I don't
we
think I've evolved yet,
you know,
but I know what you mean.
but I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Mhm,
It may come to that point,
mhm.
but in any event, yeah. So it's things have been good, Pat. I have no complaints. Things have been good.
Excellent. Have you
Yeah.
done a Promise Keeper show lately?
Um, I've done a few a little while ago,
Okay,
but
because the
it,
latest one
it's
I saw was 3 months ago, I think.
oh, I think I've done a couple since. Yeah,
Ooh, I'll have
I
to
think
check.
I've done a couple since. Yeah, but I have I've been on the comedian Coco Brown, comedian actress Coco Brown.
Yes. Why is that
Yeah,
name familiar?
yeah.
Yes.
So she does a show called Conversations with Coca, and so I was on her show just
Oh,
past. Um, I want to say
you write
just
that
past.
down. Put
Excuse me.
the link in the chat later
I'll
if
see
you
if I
can.
can. Hold on a second here. I'll put it there. Are you there?
Or you can do it later. You can do
Okay,
it
I'll do
later.
it later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just do it. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now wait, wasn't she on your show or Tachi's show?
Yeah, she was. She's been on their
That's why
show
the
a
name's
couple of times.
familiar.
Yeah.
On Mediascope.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you in turn were on her show.
Yeah, I was on her show. She does a show on Instagram called Conversations with Coca, and
Mm.
so it actually turned out to a really good show. I think we last time I looked, we had almost 2,000 people who viewed it.
Sweet. So is that
So
social commentary or just straight up humor?
well, for us talking, because being a comedian, I'll leave that to her. That's not my
You
space.
have a
But
really dry sense of humor, though, and sometimes that's the funniest people because it's like
yeah,
because you hesitate and it's like, did he really say that?
yeah, funny. But yeah, so yeah, I was on her show, and we talked about relationships. We talked about because I don't know if I told you, but I have this. I do coaching, so I have this this site that I put together called it's not rocket science coaching.
I didn't know that. Write
Yeah,
that down.
it's
What?
not rocket science coaching. Yeah, it's not rocketsciencecoaching.com is a website. And so
Okay.
when I was on her show, I was coming on as a coach, not as a
Hmm.
video editor or live streamer, but just coming on her show as a coach. And And so that's what we talked about. And we talked about relationships, and it
Hmm.
was an interesting show, though. It was a really good show, and we talked about just the black male and the black female perspective of relationships,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
very very interesting show, though. It was good.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Curtis. Throw
Okay.
out some advice for people who are at odds due to the stress
Hmm.
of being quarantined and how to keep it together.
Wow, that's a good question, Pat. Uh, but definitely not impossible to answer. I think for me, Pat, and uh, my suggestion would be your faith, and that's a huge piece. And oftentimes, it was, my in my conversation with God just recently, and I was just like, Lord, it's interesting. It's interesting how the enemy would come, and I say the enemy of our thoughts, if you will,
Hmm.
that will that oftentimes wants to pose something new,
Hmm.
when we're trying to either get on camera or start a new venture or whatever the case might be. Sometimes our own opposition that comes up in our head, our thoughts that will try to quickly oppose that, is to, again, you have to, I just my journey, it's been my faith. And so I can say for me that it's been a lifesaver, because I think outside of that, it's easy to be pulled in by all the craziness, the
Hmm.
fear that people are dealing with, and understandably so. Because we could listen. Well, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. This isn't
Hmm.
mine. How did I get caught up in this? And
Hmm.
unfortunately, we're all in this. Whether we like it or we don't, we're all in it. And
Yeah.
I think that, again, my faith has been absolutely pivotal in this situation, and I think that oftentimes people don't have the faith, and 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 just my journey and with life, and just listening to people. Many people are saying, "Oh, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith," and because commonly faith, they think that faith is just, "Oh, I believe," right?
Hmm.
And faith,
Sure.
yes, it is believing, but when you ask them, well, or when you talk about faith, they'll say, "Oh, I have faith," but oftentimes that faith is about that small. Right, right, and that's pretty much how it
Or
is.
maybe it hasn't been put to the test
Well,
because
absolutely, 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 and
now I
hmm,
don't necessarily tell people that my faith guides my actions, but one thing I do try to remember is that a lot of people who are acting out in
hmm,
in anger. Um, I'm not a mom, but I have read that children. I'm not saying that people are children. I'm just saying that I have heard that very often when children are feeling something, they react in a way that might be unpredictable. Like, for example, if they're hungry, if they're sleepy, they might say they're hungry.
hmm,
They know they're feeling something, they need something, but they might insist on something to eat or drink when really they're sleepy. And
absolutely,
when people are scared, they often will respond in anger.
hmm,
And
absolutely,
and so all I'm saying is I try to keep in mind I'll go up to a point and then I'll let things go. Like, for example, when people are with the mask debate, when people very often, now I will giggle at a video where somebody's acting ridiculous
hmm,
over masks, but I will stop short of making fun because I know a lot of people, like on Facebook, they'll post the video and then mock the person, everybody in the comments. I never do that because I might giggle, but I won't go so far as to mock because I sometimes people they're dealing with you don't know what they're dealing with at home. They might be,
hmm,
and I'm not trying to give people a break that don't deserve it, but I'm just saying I don't know their situation. They could be out of work. Somebody might be in the hospital. People go crazy for the oddest reasons. It might be they're just mean, bad people, but it also could be they're acting out because their lives are out of control. The kid's sick, somebody died, or they're angry because their neighbors are nuts. I don't know.
Well, what you just described, Pat, is really the answer to what you've already discussed in regards to how kids act. How you said how if a child is hungry,
Mm-hmm.
he may be hungry, but he may act out in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
because of the hunger. And adults do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. With
And
their
hence,
kids.
well, I mean, it's the reality. It's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And because oftentimes people it takes people a long time to grow out of that space.
Mm-hmm.
That if I'm hungry, hey, I'm hungry, let me get something to eat. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or the opposite of that is what you explained a moment ago. I'm hungry. I'm not going to tell you I'm hungry, so I need you to guess that I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Doesn't make sense, but
it doesn't make
we're
sense. But
human.
but but well, absolutely. But again, this is the difference between immaturity and maturity.
Gotcha. And
You're
also,
right.
I think self-awareness, because sometimes, unless we're really thoughtful people, a lot of us don't self-reflect a lot. We just don't take the time because we're so busy. Life is just so
Well,
busy, and you don't stop to think. Uh, like, like for example, I like to point out, like in conversations we talk about race, when we started moving into Chatham, the white people who were living there before
mhm,
immediately left because they
mhm,
figured, oh, N words. I mean, they let us know, the no one
mhm,
turned why they were moving. They didn't stop to think, who could afford to buy this house in this nice neighborhood? They must be college educated, must have good jobs. But they didn't think that. They just saw N words and
mhm.
left, and which was very immature because the neighborhood has improved since they left. I'm just saying, it was people with actual jobs and enough money to afford the houses and to
Right,
keep
right.
it put up in a really nice way. Chatham is still a beautiful neighborhood, but people don't. The self awareness sometimes is lacking,
Well,
and they don't stop to think,
right, right.
analyze their thoughts.
Well, and that's often the problem, Pat, is that I think one of the messages I done on the Promise Keeper YouTube channel is that I mentioned about how we've been born into something. We all
Mm-hmm.
have been born into a situation or conditions that were already established before we got here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're born into having to deal with someone else's affairs, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not necessarily our own, but they become our, they become our affair, much like this situation with the coronavirus, though it's not ours or it was came from somewhere or wherever it may come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's a situation that we're all dealing with,
Exactly.
regardless of your background or where you're from. Such as life, being that we were born into a situation that we had
Mm-hmm.
no control of, something that was already established, that was here before we got here. And so, that being said, Pat, oftentimes uh, we're having to, uh, as adults, as someone who's mature, or at least you grow into that space of maturity and
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, you know what? This isn't my situation, but I don't quite understand it all. But so before I can respond to it, it really just takes a person with just a deeper sense of that, again, that spiritual side.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's the faith. That spiritual side of faith is that, because oftentimes we have to stop before we respond, because naturally,
Mm-hmm.
again, the thing that we've been given is the instinct. Oh, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know about the situation, but oftentimes we respond like, I mean, obviously we're animals as people
Mm-hmm.
on the obviously the highest level. But my point is that oftentimes that instinct that we all have,
Mm-hmm.
that instinct will take over rather than to rationalize,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
And so I think that even in the case of I guess your original question is that how can people deal with this, is to, one, again, faith is a huge piece of it, because
Mm-hmm.
faith, and I think just, with some of the messages I've been listening to, is having a plan. You can
Mm-hmm.
still have a plan, because this isn't going to last forever.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, because people don't have a plan, uh, the the fiery darts, as the Bible calls it, they happen to get through the exterior and make
Mhm.
their way on the interior, if you will.
Mhm.
And so when those messages and thoughts and things that are taking place on outside of us, those things going get on the inside, all of a sudden they start turning things upside down on the inside.
Exactly. That's why
You
you have
know,
to stop and think sometimes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Just like yesterday, I think was it yesterday when Trump was diagnosed with COVID-19, I believe.
Who
So
was you?
Trump and his wife both have
I
COVID-19.
said, who? Okay.
So um, I guess night before last, whenever
Mm-mm,
it's hard for me to. So it was early in the morning,
mm-mm,
1 a.m. I was still up. I was watching Sky News. The
mm-hmm,
American outlets had not announced it yet, but Sky News, because that was top of the morning for them, 6
mm-hmm,
a.m. for
mm-hmm,
them. So they, announced that
mm-hmm,
Trump and his wife had coronavirus. So I put it up on Facebook, and then I stayed off Facebook for a while. Well, of course, I went to sleep because it was
right,
1 a.m. But I made a point not to visit Facebook except just to do my show
mm-hmm,
and to leave. So I'm kind of uh, I'm not very visible, not very active yesterday, and
mm-hmm,
that's because I didn't want to get drawn in. I
mm-hmm,
knew a lot of people were going to make fun, and I'm not going to use words like karma or anything. I'm just saying that I did
mm-hmm,
not want to fall into the position of, especially as a media outlet, of making fun of Trump for um, contracting COVID-19, because I had a feeling that a lot of people were going to be doing that, and I didn't really want to be involved.
I mean, if you
So
if you
I said, so sometimes you just have to be self-aware and just let things alone.
absolutely, and I agree, but I would say this is playing out like a movie. The
It
irony,
is, isn't it?
the irony of
Irony,
life.
karma, all kinds of interesting words are coming to
Absolutely,
mind. But I'm still
absolutely.
not gonna. I'm not gonna jump. I'm not gonna
Oh,
join the
I
fray.
can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Absolutely. Yeah.
And now, personal life is different. I'm just saying. I'm still a person,
Absolutely.
but my
Absolutely.
public life, I'm clean and reserved
Hmm.
and being
Being a lady, huh?
exactly.
You're hilarious,
Well,
Pat. Oh,
just
that's funny.
saying. Hey, what's the temperature down there in Texas? It's probably
It's got
95.
no. It's gotten kind of cool actually, which is nice though.
Mm-hmm.
It's pleasant. I think in the uh, last couple of days I was out driving. I think it's been like 51, 56 degrees. Yeah.
In
And
Texas?
yeah, and then I mean, that was early in the morning, and then it would eventually warm up, so around 80, 84, something like that.
Oh, that's what I would expect.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Texas like when I watch TV and I see these movies about the deserts and how cold it gets
Mhm.
at night? Like it'll be blazing hot during the day, then as soon as the sun sets, it just plummets to like 30
No, that's
degrees.
not. Yeah, that's not Texas. Texas, obviously, I guess it's considered the South, but um, I mean, it is considered the South. But uh, when you look at the map, it's
It's not
just a
super dry.
yeah. No, I was saying as far as this location, when you look at the map, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily south like that, but
Mhm.
nevertheless. Any event, yeah, Texas isn't like that. It's flat, but so as far as the temperature wise, over the summertime, it's still been very, very warm even at nighttime.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's not like that. You're probably looking at more again. Uh, well, I
You know,
know
like
for sure.
deserts, like
Yeah, well,
maybe,
Nevada, Mexico, that kind of thing, or New
yeah,
Mexico, I should say.
yeah. Because
Arizona.
I've been watching videos lately about people exploring caves in the
Mm,
desert.
yeah.
and how
But that's
dangerous
typically
that is.
well,
Yeah.
that's typically like again because I lived in Las Vegas for many years. Actually, graduated
Ooh.
high school from Las Vegas,
Oh.
and so that's ideally that's kind of like I said, Nevada, probably
Hmm.
parts of California. It's before between California and Nevada,
Hmm.
there's desert, and then uh, Arizona, New Mexico. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I would say Arizona, but yeah, so that's
Ha-
pretty much.
Have you ever been out in the desert at night? Because it just seems like it's so scary.
I mean, I mean, with anything, I mean, it's still the wild, and it's our
Hmm.
minds, it's the unknown, that kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, not that I've done any dive or anything like that, but just a person can imagine going into just a cave, perhaps, just not knowing what's there, and your mind could eventually just take over, and
Hmm.
you know,
I can't imagine
yeah,
people doing these things, but they go exploring these
mm,
caves.
yeah,
They go in real deep. They're crawling into these
hmm,
tight spaces. It's ridiculous. I also
yeah,
saw a couple of videos where I can't remember which Native American nation he was in, but he was in some area. I forget. But anyway, there was local lore
hmm,
that certain like evil spirits were in this certain area at night, and he said he felt them.
hmm.
That's kind of exciting,
I
scary,
guess not.
but
Yeah, that's
I mean, I wouldn't want to check that out myself. But as a YouTube video, it's very entertaining.
sure, 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 sure.
But, I mean, I watch things that I don't want to actually experience myself sometimes.
It's fun to watch somebody else experience it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's why people watch scary
Right,
movies, right?
right,
They like to be
absolutely,
scared.
absolutely.
Only in my case, it's YouTube videos because I like the real life stuff as opposed.
Yeah,
I never liked monster movies
right,
because
right.
to me, real life can be just as scary.
Phew, I know, right? This is like, do I really need to watch a monster?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so.
So, what's in store for you this coming week? Do you
Ah,
and let me preface this also by asking, do you in your daily experiences do you look for new clients or are you set?
wow, that's a good question, Pat. Uh, that's a good question. I, I, I typically, I mean, at times it just depends on how I feel, Pat. To be honest,
Hmm.
because like right now I got a workload here. Where is that? I'm working on one website for a client. I'm actually just about done with it,
Hmm.
and um, so yeah, I'm just about done with it. But as far as for instance, like the other piece of what I'm doing, the coaching, uh, I actually started a podcast. I'm in the process of starting a podcast, and
Oh,
for that, it's not rocket science coaching.com, or it's not rocket
nice.
science. It's not rocket science coaching with Curtis. It's over on Podbean, and I
Okay,
talked with
Podbean.
Tachi, and so she had shared Podbean because years ago I was on a podcast platform called Libsyn.
I've heard of that.
You ever this? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Eileen
years ago,
Smith talks about it or
mhm,
talked about it.
and they've got a lot of just moving parts to their platform. And so I was on them years ago under the podcast name, The Success Coach.
Hmm.
And so when I say that, it makes me think about, wow, I've been in this game for a long time. And I
Hmm.
say that, and again, for the, that, that, that life journey,
Hmm.
and just always trying to make myself better,
Hmm.
and just, be in that space where I can stop to think,
Right.
because oftentimes we don't stop, as you said earlier, we don't stop to think, and we just can find ourselves over
Reacting.
absolutely
Hmm.
over a period of time responding instinctively. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
And so that's what oftentimes gets us in the positions that we're in. So
Get you into trouble.
yes, 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 or saying something that you shouldn't say because you're responding instinctively rather
Hmm.
than from a rational um, uh, mindset, if you will. So,
I took to heart what there's a gentleman named Kyle Serba. He's
mhm,
the information director, I guess the word is, for North Carolina Central University Athletics.
Hmm.
It's our local HBCU.
Hmm.
And Kyle Serba told his young athletes, young student athletes,
Hmm.
that you are always representing, because social media is so popular on college campuses with the
Hmm.
young folks and all. So he tells them, you are representing not only yourself, you're representing your families,
Sure.
your cities or towns, villages, wherever you're from, the school,
Hmm.
the team. You're not just John Smith. You're,
Absolutely.
yeah. So you're
Absolutely.
representing so much. So when you're on social media, be mindful. And that is the main reason I stepped back from making fun of Trump, because I am representing the Durham Skywriter. I am the
Mm.
Durham Skywriter.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Absolutely.
So I want to be professional, and I can say what I want in private,
Hmm.
like everybody else. But with my public persona, I am
Absolutely.
representing a news outlet, as small as it is.
Right. Right.
Still,
Absolutely.
I
Mm.
it's a legitimate news outlet,
Absolutely.
and it's very important for me to protect that name and that image.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people, I don't know really how I feel about folks being outed for being jerks and losing their jobs. I don't still don't know how I feel about that. I know people make fun. Um, but as when I was a kid, my parents were never fired or anything. But Chicago was very volatile in the 60s, and
Hmm.
there were a lot of strikes.
Hmm.
My dad worked for the county, my mom worked for the city. For a while, my dad worked for the state. But anyway, there are a lot of strikes, a lot of racial strife. A
Hmm.
lot of times when we were really short on cash. So I don't necessarily take it lightly when someone loses their job, you know. So again, I don't know how I feel about that, but but on the other hand, the people who acted out in public and thus lost their jobs, I guess they didn't stop to realize that they were representing um, not just themselves, but who they're working for as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that's a good statement or good information because oftentimes that's exactly what the youth have done. Or that's exactly what the youth do. They
Hmm.
oftentimes, we're all youth at one time. And
Hmm.
so guess what? Oftentimes, a lot of things that we did were just done instinctively. Because we
Hmm.
didn't think about it.
Hmm.
And it could be that our parents had to go come back and fix something, because
Hmm.
we responded, instinctively without thinking.
Hmm.
And so, but again, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about, you were saying you were not trying to say that the adults were like children, but in fact, that's what it is.
It's a byproduct of childhood.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so you have grown people not being able to recognize the difference between a public, as you said, a public persona and a
Hmm.
private persona. And
Hmm.
so so what they do in private, guess what? It spills over into their public persona. And so I already know what you've been talking about because there's a scripture in the Bible that says what's done in the dark will come to the light.
Ooh, okay, good one. Hmm.
So that being said, oftentimes, and I as a, or me as a coach, we as people, I could say that is that we like to put things in compartments, and oh, this is this, I'll put this over here, put this over here. But with anything, the more time you spend with this thing here, though it may be in private, you
Hmm.
may put three objects, just for example, three objects within a box
Hmm.
in your private situation. But if you spend time with those three things or whatever that box contains privately, guess what
Hmm.
happens? It's eventually going to spill over into your public life.
Hmm. Exactly.
And that's just how that works. And so
You just have to be really mindful of things like that.
absolutely. I mean, but again, you have to stop and think though,
Hmm.
because if we don't stop and think just from the instinct, just from the pressure that's placed
Hmm.
upon us,
Hmm.
what's done the Bible says, out of the mouth comes the issues of life.
Hmm.
And so what happens, whether it's done, whether done privately, when the pressure is placed upon us, guess what happens?
Hmm.
Those private matters become now public
Hmm.
because of the pressure that's placed upon us. We now speak out because of the pain or the angst or the anxiety, whatever we may be dealing with.
Hmm.
We handle those things privately, but when the pressure is placed upon us, those things come out publicly.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Now, I don't know about other so-called minority groups, but I
mhm,
know growing up in a newly all-black community
mhm.
in Chicago, that we were taught to act like we had sense when
Yeah,
we weren't at home because, again, we're representing.
yeah,
It sounds corny, representing the race, but at the time I was growing up, a lot of
mhm,
black folks weren't seen here and there. I was almost always, whatever job I had, the first or the only black person.
mhm.
So it wasn't like I considered myself an ambassador, but I also had to almost gatekeep in certain instances. Because,
Right,
what often happens, even today, or especially today, because we're so polarized, people will tell you what you're thinking. Oh, well, you all want socialism.
mhm.
And you people want chaos, and I'm like, you haven't even spoken to me. How do you,
Right, 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 right.
and they don't know how much I dislike socialism. Actually, I like some of the benefits we've gotten from socialist ideas, like the 5-day work week, as
Hmm.
opposed to working dawn to dusk every
Right,
day.
right.
So we do have to thank them for that. But for the most part, no, I dislike chaos very. Anyway,
Hmm.
it's kind of funny in a way how people are so polarized that they are thinking that they know what you feel and what you've done. And you just have to be very mindful, not only as a minority, but just
Hmm.
as a person,
Right.
to be very mindful how the other person views you. Not that I really care, because I'm not out here for people. If you don't like me, that's fine.
Right, right.
I'm not such a crowd pleaser that I want everybody to like me, because I personally, that doesn't concern me. Still, I am representing something I feel that's
Well,
pretty important.
Pat, I
Everybody
think as a
feels that way eventually.
right,
When you
right.
think about it.
Absolutely. Pat, I think as a whole, many of us as Black people, myself included, we were told to conduct ourselves in a, especially, don't you go out there, your
Not you
mom and my,
acting a fool.
yeah, act a fool, absolutely. And it was all, always about, the family name, don't make me look bad or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a space that many of us come from. And like you said, it wasn't, it didn't mean that we didn't have our own thoughts. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't mean that we didn't see, that we didn't see the world from a different perspective, whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
Or it just meant that it just meant that we were, as a race, if you will, we were trying to, we thought that if we could act better, perhaps we would get, you get what I'm saying? If we,
Or at
if
least
we could,
be acceptable.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Well said. And so if we could do this in this way, and they would accept us. And I think it just, over a period of time, has come to a place where it's like, damn it, it doesn't really matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we've always had our own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
always have. And I think so much of what, kind of what I was saying earlier, is that oftentimes we're all, because we're born into something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, we as Blacks in this country, you know, we were, born into the slavery space, if you will, mentality,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where they placed us. And so they dictated to us how we felt, what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it didn't mean that we didn't have our own thoughts. It didn't
Right.
mean that we didn't have our own perspective, or we seen the world in a different way, whatever the case might be. It didn't mean
That's,
that we weren't smart,
mm-hmm.
because we're some of the smartest people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it didn't mean any of that, but it did mean that once it came time for me to stop, once it came time to for me to stand up for myself
Mm-hmm.
and not allow, wow, praise the Lord, not allow you to continue barking orders at me and to speak
Mm-hmm.
to me that if I, as if I was less than a human being. Now the sleeping giant, now the giant is no longer sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's waking up. The giant is waking up. Brothers and sisters alike, brown people as a whole, we're
Mm-hmm.
waking up and realizing that, wait a minute, you know, this is a whole different space, and they don't know how to respond to it.
Yeah, that's very
Unfortunately,
interesting to watch.
yeah, it is. It is, and so
And
I did.
actually, I have had that happen to me where
Yeah,
a white person barked orders at me, and I had to
yeah,
stop her,
hmm
and I had to explain it's not that time.
right, right, absolutely.
This is the 21st century, and I said um, I expressed myself basically explaining that how about racial equality. So
Hmm.
anyway, she stopped and she looked at. She says, "I hate when I do that." But I was very
Oh, I remember you telling me this. Right,
yeah, I
right,
was very
right.
calm with her. I didn't call her the B word and
Hmm.
you white bad person. No, I no,
Right, right.
I said no. Those times are over. I
Hmm.
am a full fledged adult, equal to you.
Right,
And
right.
I stopped her in her tracks because he probably expected me to cuss her out like black people do on
Hmm.
in the media all the time. A stereotypical black angry
Yeah.
black
Or,
person.
or that's what
And
they show. That's what the media shows.
yeah, it's a stereotype.
Yeah. Hmm.
I guess he wasn't expecting a
Hmm.
reasoned, measured
Right. Right,
response.
right, right, right.
You know, and I think actually it's very. I don't know if this response would work in all circumstances because I've never had anybody like with those anti-maskers. I've
Hmm.
never had that kind. I mean, the lady was upset, but she wasn't in my face violently like the
Hmm.
people that we see on YouTube. And I
Hmm.
don't know how I would respond to actual yelling and whether a measured response would work in
Hmm.
that instance. I have
Hmm.
no idea. I hope I never have that happen to me because it looks horrendous.
Right, 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 right.
We
Well,
weren't even taught like that, and we weren't even yelled at. Yelling wasn't even allowed in my house,
hmm
so I don't know how I would even respond. Cursing wasn't
but
allowed, or yelling, or
but it's,
anything.
but it's interesting, Pat. Though, if you think about it, because oftentimes the world that we see from our individual homes, if you will,
Hmm.
is one thing, functional or dysfunctional as it may be.
Hmm.
It's a perspective, obviously,
Hmm.
and leaving uh, the that space, if you
Hmm.
will, as our family, home, or residence, whatever, leaving that space and going out into the world, Pat, it's a whole different experience,
Tell me
obviously.
about it. Yeah,
And
not
so,
everybody is nice and kind
absolutely.
and
And so,
sweet.
and I think that, and I can speak this of myself, absolutely, Pat. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When when God has a mission, a plan for your life,
Hmm.
He will place you deliberately in situations, relationships with people. I can say for myself personally,
Hmm.
my son's mom. My son's 19 now, but my son's
Wow.
mom, um, that was the woman that grew me up. That
Hmm.
was the woman that grew a brother up for real.
Mm.
And but and Pat, as much as it pained me, and I had gone through different things with her, uh, uh, in relationship to my son mostly,
Hmm.
and our own little personal battles outside of that as well. But as much as it pained me, Pat, God used that woman to grow a brother up.
Mm.
Seriously. And I think sometimes we in life we want to say, oh, it's this person, it's her, it's him. No, you just passing through.
Mm.
We're all just passing through. And there's baggage from our situations in life, you know,
Hmm.
previous situations or relationships in life that oftentimes we're trying to carry over into the
Mm,
next opportunity. And oftentimes, who praise the Lord, oftentimes we wonder why the door can't open because there's
mm.
some things that we're bringing that aren't allowed in that space.
Ooh, good one. Good one.
And so I think that the the levels, the layers in life that God is still climbing that mountain, if you will,
Mm,
is essential to lighten the load. Praise the Lord. It's essential to lighten the load, and when we
mm,
lighten the load, man, God has such a wonderful opportunity to use us because, in using us, guess what? Now I can speak to your heart. I
mm,
can speak to their heart. I can know what the other brother or sister is going through, whoever you may be,
mm,
because He's light my load. It doesn't mean that I've forgotten where I've gone through, or I'm just pushing it down. No, no, no. You have to have dealt with it. You have to have
mm,
been healed from it.
mm. That's
And so
kind of
now,
cool what you're saying, though. Yeah.
yeah. And so as you approach the door,
Mm,
you'll see that each time you approach that door, man, it opens with ease because
oh.
you've been healed from it. You've
Mm,
been delivered from the situations, the angst, the anxiety, the
mm,
emotions that come with the different experiences that we've all had. And when we can lay those things down, trust God,
mm,
and yet still walk in uncertainty to that next level, man.
mm,
And then yet when the pressure is placed upon you,
mm,
and that pressure is placed upon you deliberately just
mm,
to see if any of your old stuff will come up.
mm.
You get
You
what
got
I'm
to hold
saying?
it back,
Not
beat it
hold it
back,
back. Yeah, not. But it absolutely not necessarily hold it back.
beat
But
it
Lord
back.
God, I know that the feelings, the emotions will
Mm-hmm,
come up, but let me just sit here
mm-hmm,
and not judge those thoughts,
mm-hmm,
but let them be,
mm-hmm,
and the thoughts will subside just as the wind
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I
just
like that.
eventually just as the wind eventually dissipates.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's real learning.
yeah.
That's real learning.
Mhm.
And another cool thing, as you deal with these people who are start out as adversaries, it could be a cool way for them to stop and think about and realize that they are harboring some of these old thoughts. Like what you mentioned. So the lady who was yelling at me,
Mhm.
speaking harshly to me, probably because of what I said, realized that she still had old racist baggage that she hadn't dealt with.
Mhm.
Because at the place that I was DJing, it
Mhm.
was a place where many of the residents, not most, actually most, the residents are white.
Mhm.
Most of the people serving them are black. So they're
Mhm.
used to being treated with deference. And probably the first time that she wanted to scold a black person, me,
Mhm.
an outside contractor, so I wasn't treating anybody with any deference. I'm always polite, but I don't have to serve anybody,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean, to keep my job. So, my phone's ringing. No, I can't answer right now. But anyway, the old feelings came back, the animosity that she felt because she was accustomed, probably. I'm just trying to get in her head. She's probably accustomed to not having to deal with her racist side because, after all, the black people she was encountering were all treating her the way she
Mhm.
loved to be treated, with deference and all that kind of, you know
Right.
how they
Right.
have
Right.
to act in the nursing
Right.
homes. They have to
Mhm.
be very, you know, they have to get along very well with their clientele, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I guess the first time that she felt angry at a black person, which was me, this old massa type persona emerged, which she
Mhm.
probably hadn't visited for a while. She probably didn't even know it was still there. You know what I mean?
Well,
Because she didn't have
mhm.
to bring it out until then.
I mean, or perhaps I wouldn't necessarily say that you were the first person. I think that
Well,
perhaps
maybe
you,
for that day,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah, perhaps.
I don't know.
It could be that you were the first person in a while to say something about it.
Hmm.
You know,
Oh, okay.
um, and
That's possible too. That's very possible.
you know, there's a scripture in the Bible that says that the whole world has the entire world has been deceived. That's what the scripture
Hmm.
says.
Hmm.
And when you think about the deception, it's huge. And I say the deception in the sense that that the world has been told a lie. You know, it's a lie that
Oh.
they've been believing. And so,
Hmm.
you know, to some regard, you know, again, you know, me, you, and
How
different
about the
things that,
supremacy and all that? Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly, exactly. It's a
Yeah.
lie that they've been given. And
Okay.
this was given to them just for the control.
Hmm.
Because if they can control the narrative, you know, you're a
Hmm.
journalist. And so controlling the narrative has been a huge thing. And because now they're losing hold of the story.
I see.
People are educating themselves,
Hmm.
you know, and I think we've had this conversation before, Pat, in regards to uh, uh, pre pre us, in many of us,
Hmm.
that our brothers and sisters ran Europe. The
Hmm.
first universities came from black folks.
Hmm.
This was in Europe. We ran Europe. And so because of that, yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. And because of that, that's what I say. They know more than there's more information out there.
Okay.
And the more a person educates themselves, much like going from a drag and drop to, I'm just using this as a reference, but
Hmm.
going from a drag and drop
The actual building.
to building a website,
Hmm.
now to actually going to, okay, I can figure this thing out. I can figure out how it works. I can use the code to actually set it up the way I want it set it up. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I don't have to use only what you've given me. I
Hmm.
can design it now.
I got you.
You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so now we're coming from that space where it's that you can't put me anywhere you want me anymore.
Oh, Curtis, you
You
doing it
know?
now?
You're so silly. Now I'm recognizing
Poetic.
that, yes, yes. Now I'm recognizing that
Hmm.
I'm the designer
Ooh, I like
of
that.
my own
Okay.
life. I can design
Hmm.
my own space.
Hmm.
And many of us as Black people, we don't quite know that yet,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And
Hmm.
so what's happening is that the giant is waking up. And the
Hmm.
giant is, praise the Lord, the giant is waking up, but the giant is waking up with a lot of pain. There's a lot
Hmm.
of pain that the giant is dealing with.
Hmm.
And so, in dealing with that pain, he, or I say he, she, whatever, that giant is dealing with that pain in a immature fashion. But to have, to have, to deal with it from a mature perspective. And I'm not necessarily saying marching and all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. And I'm not necessarily saying marching isn't mature or immature, but I'm just saying
Depends
to
on the circumstance.
exactly.
Hmm.
So I'm saying that dealing with it from a mature perspective is to really learn how to get into their heads.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because this is really about a psychological game.
It is, but that is why this is going to sound really weird to you, perhaps. But
Perhaps.
I give Barry Gordy a huge, huge amount of credit
Mhm,
for. I think he did a lot. I mean, we're talking about Motown, the president of
mhm,
Motown.
mhm,
We're talking about black music. We're
mhm,
talking about R&B. I give him a lot of credit, a lot more credit than most people probably do,
mhm,
because I think what he did in now nowadays the artists do pretty much what they want to do.
mhm,
A lot of them are anyway. So what Barry Gordy did, he had like a charm school and made sure that the artists presented themselves professionally. You know, they had to Motown tours, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. But the reason why I give Berry Gordy as much credit, this is going to sound blasphemous, as Dr. King, because Dr. King marched, and he marched with, there were various types of people marching with him, mostly black, also white, which include a lot of Jewish people, et cetera, et cetera. But what Berry Gordy did was he wasn't on the outside like Dr. King was. He got black people into people's minds and homes.
Absolutely.
And so I give
That
him a
doesn't.
lot more credit than most
Mm-mm.
people do, because you have to work from the inside as well. You can pound from the outside and say, you know, we want our rights. We want you to stop doing this. And it will reach some people, but getting people from the inside, I feel it's
Absolutely.
just as important. I'm not going to say whether it's better or worse. It all
Pat,
depends on the circumstance.
Pat, that does not sound strange to me. That's exactly what I'm saying. So the difference between, again, like you said, there's definitely nothing wrong with the marching, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying yea or nay on it.
Mhm.
I'm just saying is that
It's so
much what
necessary in certain
just like
instances.
you said
Yeah.
with Barry Gordy, is
Mhm.
that Pat, you got to know your audience,
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
part of marketing, and you can attribute that. You can say that's what Barry did. He knew his audience.
Mhm.
He knew his audience. And to know your audience, much like Apple does, Apple Computers, much like Amazon does, Procter and Gamble, these large companies, Johnson and Johnson, you got to know your audience. And if you can know your audience, you speak their language by putting together a ad or commercial with the very words that they've been using in their own searches, their
Mhm.
Google
Mhm.
searches. So you create an ad around these different elements. And when
Mhm.
you speak a person's language, you can get into their head.
Exactly. Isn't that clever?
It is, but that's the way it's always been, though.
Mhm.
That's the way it always been. And oftentimes most of us,
And it's a
unfortunately,
real revelation for some people who are just now getting into social media. But you're right. That has been uh, the way it's always been this way. And
absolutely.
there are many different ways again of convincing people to see your way. There's a lot of different approaches. That's only one of many. Um, yeah, the marketing piece, also the education piece.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you really
Absolutely.
do have to go head to head. And I'm not
Absolutely.
talking violence,
Mm.
but I mean encountering the headstrong people. Sometimes with,
Absolutely.
you know,
But at the,
sometimes you just have to.
but at the same but again, Pat, it goes back to what I was sharing with you with my son's mom.
Mhm.
I was going to essentially head to head with someone who had different opinions or ideas or thoughts or whatever, how
Mhm.
things should be done. But at some point, you have to step away
Mhm.
and come back. And, at different times, you step away. But what happens is that we step away, we come back with the same approach.
Well, hopefully
We
you've
stepped
thought
away.
and grown some.
Oh, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. But my
Mhm.
point is that eventually we step away, we learn some things, such as
Mhm.
life. We step away, we learn some things, we come back, you might get knocked down again, but you step away again and
Mhm.
you tweak it again. Tweak it,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
tweak it, you tweak it to the point where guess what? There's really none of me left. None of my own thoughts of what I think the person should do or how they should behave.
Mhm.
It's me giving that person room to be who they are.
Exactly. That's wonderful.
You
And
know?
Colleen agrees. Hey, Colleen.
Hey, Colleen, how are you?
She's
Yeah.
a
So
fellow Durhamite. And my
absolutely.
basil plants are doing great, Colleen, by the way.
Hmm.
Just throwing that out there. She gave me some beautiful plants.
Cool, cool.
So,
Hey,
and oh wait, I need to call you, Colleen, because yeah, I know she was going through some health things. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a call sometime today, Colleen, for sure. And Curtis, it's so fun to talk with you. You got
Absolutely.
deep.
Pat, you're always funny.
You got real deep. And
Yeah.
I'm going to copy what some of the YouTubers do. We sip some tea today.
That's so funny.
So, yeah. So I'm going to have a fun day. What are you going to do today?
I gotta,
Saturday.
Pat.
Woo.
I work so hard and
I know.
work so much. So
As
I gotta
much as
work.
I did that, I know I'm
Yeah,
going to go
because
over there to my computer and update the Skywriter again. But I'm going to try to get some walking in. Hopefully, that's what that phone call was about. I want to get some walking in. I want to do some grocery shopping.
that's a
I
good idea, Pat. That's what I need to do. Get
I
out the
might do
house.
some. Actually, I made some ground nut stew. I might make some more. Do you know what ground nut stew is?
No, no, no.
It is the national dish of Nigeria. Or at least it was when I was first reading about it. Check this out: chicken,
Uh-huh.
collard greens,
Mhm.
vegetables,
Mhm.
peanut butter
And it's called
on
grounds.
rice. Ground
Oh,
nut
wow.
stew. And ground nut is another word for peanut.
Okay.
That is some powerful good eating.
Really?
Again, chicken,
Uh-huh.
collard greens. Some people substitute kale,
Okay.
um, frozen vegetables,
Hmm.
and peanut butter.
Very interesting.
Mm,
So
it is
Pat,
so
you you
good.
you you made it before?
Yeah. I'm learning how to cook, as so
Okay.
many people are. Oh, and Colleen wants some. I can definitely hook you up, Colleen.
It sounds
But
good, Pat.
it's super good. It is so, and then the
Mm.
spices are like cinnamon,
Huh?
coriander.
Hmm.
What's that other one? Ah,
Nutmeg, maybe?
no, chives.
Hmm.
But another one that starts with a C. Cumin.
Okay. Okay.
These are unfamiliar. I mean, I'm just
Hmm.
getting familiar with these. So
Hmm.
yeah. So cinnamon, cumin, coriander, cloves. Of course, a whole onion chopped up,
Hmm.
garlic. It's just good. It
It
is so
sounds good, Pat. That
it's
sounds good.
really
Because
good.
when I was in the DR, I think maybe about a year ago, uh, I had this I think it was called like a peanut soup or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it was brown. It was interesting, in color, sometimes just how I am, and
Hmm.
looking at the color of it. But it was brown. It was a peanut soup, and
Hmm.
it was absolutely delicious.
It's probably very much like what I described because with
That
it being a West African dish,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm
and that's what I
assuming
was.
DR is Dominican Republic.
Yeah, Dominican.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm assuming that
That's what I
a
was
lot
thinking
of
when
these
you said
dishes
that.
were brought over to this
Yes.
country. I didn't hear about it until I was in college in Alabama.
Okay.
And one of the teachers, and it's really funny, it was a white teacher
Hmm.
from Chicago
Hmm.
who made this groundnut stew, and we were licking the bowl. I mean,
Really?
we're talking about some good eating.
Hey, Pat, can you send me the recipe?
Sure, I can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Send it to me. That would
But
be
what I
great.
did though, I'm going to send you the recipe, but now I don't know what your taste buds are like. I don't like hot food and I don't like really spicy food,
Hmm.
but the recipe is very now when I say bland, you know
Hmm.
how mild I am as a person. When I say something's bland, it must really be bland. So it's good, but
Right.
I actually doubled
Hmm.
the spices
Okay.
for the first time this week, and I like it so much better. So
Mm.
I'm going to
Okay.
send you the original recipe and leave it up to
Okay.
you as to
Okay.
whether you want to double
Okay.
the
Cool.
the spice ingredients. I didn't
Okay.
double anything else, just the spices.
So,
So and Colleen can't have rice, but Colleen, this stuff is so good, and it's thick enough to be a stew because the
hmm.
peanut butter thickens it.
Right. 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 Okay.
So and you can add from 1/3 to 1/2 of a cup of peanut butter. So they leave it up
Mm.
to you.
And so that's going to be the consistency of the thickness, right?
Yeah.
With the
So
okay.
so it's very much like a stew, and you can. I mean, I've done it. I've added more than a half cup,
Okay. Okay.
just to experiment. I've added. I think this week, I think I added like 3/4 of a cup of
So
peanut butter.
you cook the collard greens separately?
Everything you put everything in a pressure cooker. Now I don't know how to make it on the stove, but I know obviously since it's the national dish of Nigeria, obviously it was made before pressure cookers were invented originally.
Absolutely.
So I think even though I'm going to send you the recipe, I know that there's a way to do it on top of the stove as well.
Interesting. I wonder if Tati knows what it is, because she's from Nigeria.
Well, her folks in Nigeria, I bet she does.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because I heard it's also very popular in Ghana as well.
Interesting.
And I know now with the pressure cooker, you put absolutely everything. You cut the chicken into bite-sized pieces. You cut the collard greens into bite-sized pieces. The onions chopped up and diced, and you put absolutely everything except the peanut butter into the pot. And I'm sure it's probably how they did it on top of the stove as well. You put it in the pot, and with the pressure cooker, you put it on 10. And then after 10 minutes, you let it, you let it unpressurize, and then you stir in the peanut butter.
Wow. So how much you end up making with that?
Enough to last. Well, I invited a friend over, so originally it was supposed to have lasted a week.
Right.
But my friend's a dude.
Yeah.
So you know how y'all go back for seconds. So I don't know how long it's gonna last, but when it's just me, it lasts for. I make it for the. Usually I cook for the week, so it falls just short of a week's worth.
So he ate up all your leftovers, huh, Pat?
That's okay. That's what friendship's all about: sharing and caring.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I need to go grocery shopping again.
Right.
Because I'm sure when I go in the refrigerator and see what's left, I'm going to say, man, you guys really eat. But to answer Colleen's wasn't really a question, but if she can't have I'm guessing.
What about noodles or something? Or
I was just going to say, this will be interesting on, not spaghetti, but the little noodles, what's it called, manicotti, or what's the other one, the macaroni or whatever.
Right.
I think it would be good with noodles.
That sounds good, especially if, like you said, with the consistency of it, by adding, different amounts of peanut butter, so to thicken it up, or to kind of make it more.
And to be really honest with you, Curtis, it's an African dish. And I really doubt that you really have to follow the ingredients to the T the way I do as a beginner. Although, like I said, I did double up the spices. But after watching my grandmother and my step-great-grandmother duel in the kitchen in Alabama, and see them flinging handfuls of things in the pot, and they're going behind the back, and right. Yeah. So I'm sure you can be as creative as you want to be. With recipes like this.
First time making it, Pat, I'm following directions.
Okay.
I'm following directions to the T, because because my family, probably like most families, when we come together for eating, it's an event, so if you mess something up, you're gonna hear it.
Well, I was told I put my foot in it. So that's the height of compliment.
Yes, absolutely.
So so I give you permission to add more spices than what I'm going to send you in the recipe.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yes, I'm learning how to cook. Let me tell you what other. Then I know you got to go, and I got to go too. But let me go to my notes app and tell you what other foods I have learned how to make. Let's see. Apple crisp dessert, super delicious. And, they're giving away a lot of apples this time of year. A lot of people are giving, helping the low-income folks with produce boxes. So apples are always in there. So I learned how to make apple crisp. I learned how to make. Now, I thought mashed potatoes would be easy, but there's a lot more to it than I realized, because there's sour cream and other things involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've learned how to make mashed potatoes, red beans and rice, Popeye style.
Oh, come on now. Stop playing.
Serious. Red beans and rice. Maple bacon pound cake.
Oh, wow. That sounds really good, Pat.
We're talking about some good eating. Sushi.
So you made the maple bacon pound cake already?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Good eating.
Wow.
Good. We're talking good eating.
So did you have a round or one of the like a long maybe the
I
10
bought
pound?
I bought the pound cake loaf
Okay,
thing.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But what I do because I live alone, so instead of making a one big cake, I actually
Hmm.
also bought a mini cake pan with
Okay.
six different. So I actually make
Okay.
mini cakes for myself. Although
So
I also make cakes and cornbread and stuff for neighbors and my old friends as well.
so this maple bacon pound cake that's made from scratch, or do you buy the
Um, yeah, let me tell you what's in there. Let's see. Okay, so all-purpose flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, ground ginger, unsalted butter,
Mhm.
brown sugar, eggs, maple syrup, vanilla extract, and buttermilk. And then they have. I didn't make the frosting; that was too much. I didn't make the frosting. I made a glaze instead, and the glaze is confectioner's sugar,
Mhm.
milk, maple syrup, and maple flavoring. And then if you want to make the candied bacon on top, which I did not do also,
Mhm.
but yeah, you use the bacon and then put the rice vinegar and the brown sugar, all that stuff. I didn't do
That
all that. I
sounds
just
really good,
I
Pat.
just wanted the plain cake with the glaze.
Yeah,
Let me
you
tell
gonna have
you
to
one more thing
you're gonna have
though.
to send me that recipe too. I
I
like to bake.
will.
I like to bake too, so that's
Okay.
I enjoy
Well,
baking. Yeah.
well,
Look at
let
what
me check.
Colleen says. You
She's
see
on a
that?
carb-free diabetic diet. Okay, so she'll eat it as a stew. She
Hmm.
lost 40 pounds. Oh,
Coming off insulin.
came
Good
off
deal.
insulin. Now that's a
Good
big
for you.
deal. That's a very, very big deal. And she's saying that I'm learning about good. Yes,
Hmm.
definitely. But let me tell you something. Oh, she does love baking. I always said that bacon, like freedom, is God's gift to the South. I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt one day. But let
Uh,
me tell you what I learned at the store, though. So I was at Food Lion. Do you have Food Lions in Texas?
no, I never.
It's like Jewel would be for Chicagoans. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
the
Okay.
major
Mm.
chain, one of the major chains. So I went to Food Lion, and I had gone to another Food Lion looking for brown sugar because I
Mhm.
wanted to make this apple crisp dessert. So I went to this second Food Lion, and I couldn't find it. And then there was an employee stocking the shelves. I
Mhm.
said, "Excuse me, do you happen to know when you're going to get in some brown sugar?" And she says, "Oh, I don't know." She says, "They're just buying it up. Everybody's baking." And then she got on her iPad or whatever that was that she had,
Mm.
and she looked up something and she said, "Did you know you can make your own brown sugar?" And I was like, "Really?"
Mm.
So it's simply white sugar and molasses. I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
So I
Very
bought a
interesting.
jar of molasses, and it's going to last forever because you only need a few drops to make
Hmm.
it brown sugar.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, so I don't have to buy white sugar and brown sugar. I just buy the white sugar and then use the molasses as needed.
So, okay, wait a minute. So, if you have a cup
And
of
it
sugar,
tastes so much better.
very interesting. So,
Hmm.
if you have a cup of if you have a cup of white sugar, you just how much molasses?
Oh, I have it
Do you,
written down. I'll find that and I'll send it
oh,
to you
send that to me as
because
well.
I jotted
Dang,
it
Pat, you
down.
just all you got all kinds of goodies.
All about information. But yeah, I
Yeah,
was shocked when she told
that's good stuff.
shocked.
Yes,
So I
I would
don't have
imagine.
to look for brown sugar
I would
anymore.
imagine it does taste better because with probably whatever they're adding, whatever else they may be adding to it,
Real
is
molasses.
exactly processed or whatever, having to go through its, whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, that sounds good, Pat. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, but I'm going to leave you with
Absolutely.
one last story. When we were little kids, we used to love it when Granddad would visit us,
Hmm.
and or when we came down here to Durham to visit Granddad. Granddad was born in 1885, so that's not too far after slavery, at
Hmm.
least a generation away, but still, that's pretty long time. So he would give us treats on Saturday. On Saturdays, he would give us molasses and peanuts. And I never thought that was a big deal
Hmm.
until I grew up. and I read, and a chill went through me. I was like, oh my God, that was like historical. The slaves, if they were good, they would be rewarded with molasses and peanuts back during slavery days.
Interesting.
And
Very
I was
interesting.
like, wow, that was so deep.
Wow.
Because Granddad was continuing a tradition that I don't even know if he was aware of it or if that's just what Black people were doing
Right,
after
right.
slavery to celebrate Saturday
Hmm.
or what. But yeah,
So,
and
so it was always, you always had it on Saturday.
that was our Saturday
Hmm.
treat with peanuts and spoonfuls of molasses.
Interesting.
And
So,
I
so just mixed together, or?
no, just like sometimes people dip into the honey jar and
Okay.
enjoy a tablespoon.
Right, right.
Maybe it's supposed to be teaspoon, but tablespoon for me of honey. But yeah, it
Right,
was
right,
yeah, and I that really put something on my mind when I found out that was like a what the
right,
enslaved people
right.
got as a treat. And I was like, wow. And traditions can be passed down, good or bad,
Absolutely.
due to slavery without your being aware of it. Just like I said with the white lady's harsh treatment of me, that was an old tradition
Yes, yes, yes.
that she was unaware of that was no longer in use.
Absolutely. But
You
then
know.
the behavioral aspect of it as well is also passed down. So
Hmm.
look how a lot of us as Black people, look how we act towards them.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So the
And vice
behavioral,
versa.
yeah,
It's
exactly, it was passed down, and so we've been responding in such a way that has almost made it acceptable for them to do what they do.
and actually talk about awkwardness. My sociology professor in college,
Hmm.
who was white,
Hmm.
told me, and this made our relationship really awkward after that. But she said, what very often when blacks and whites don't get along, she says, typically, it's been studied. Let me get this correct now. When white people talk to you, they look at you when talking to you and away from you when listening to you. Black people are the opposite. They look at you. They wait. White people typically would look at you when talking and away when listening. Black people would look away when listening and at you.
Yeah, yeah, I
Wait.
can see that.
The opposite.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So by us naturally looking away when they're talking at us, they thought we were being disrespectful.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we look at you when we are
Listening.
listening to you and
Yes,
away
yes.
when talking with you. I don't know if that's still true, but
That's
it
that's
was it
very
was it was
that's very
studied that
that's very
years and
interesting
years
though,
ago.
because yeah, that's very interesting because I've heard also, or maybe in connection to what you just mentioned, is that that blacks were not to, during the slavery times, blacks were not to look at the master in their
In the
eyes,
eye. Hmm.
and so that to what you just said very well could be true, because
Hmm.
if they're listening, you know, if they're listening, they look, yeah, if they're listening, they look in the eye,
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
it,
That's
and so it
aggressive.
could, yeah, well, I mean, it's not aggressive, but
I mean, they perceive it
oh, they perceive, yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
as
and so there
aggression.
definitely could be some credence to what you just
We
mentioned.
used to
Yeah,
call it
for sure.
reckless eyeballing,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So,
So,
but
so anyway, all this stuff is fascinating to me. I did
yeah,
major in sociology,
yeah, absolutely.
so I spend a lot of time watching really strange videos on. I love to watch videos on drugs and suicide and cults
Mm,
and religion. And the main reason is because I like to study the battle of the person and the mind.
mm,
It all involves bullying, self expression, self perception.
sure.
All that stuff deals with the mind. And that has always fascinated me because it can all be dealt with if you're more mindful of your thoughts and able to relate to the other person on a certain level. All of
Absolutely,
this prejudice,
for
bullying.
sure.
I don't know about drug addiction,
Oh,
but
it's the
it is
same
about
thing.
Mine for sure.
it's the same thing essentially, because I had a friend years ago that we're still friends, but anyways, she said something to me which I thought was so powerful, and she says people can be addicted to themselves and to their thought processes. Here,
Hmm.
to those thought processes or processes, I should say, that are going around and around. That they
Wow.
continue, and I thought it was so powerful because I think naturally a lot of us we think of something addiction as something on the outside,
Yeah.
as drugs or alcohol or some kind of external device or whatever. Uh, and so, but if you think about it, it makes so much sense in regards to how we get addicted to trying to even fix our own selves, if you will.
The selfie culture is disturbing. People
Yeah,
are fixing
absolutely.
their faces because they want to be
Yeah,
perfect on
yeah,
Instagram, and they're
right,
looking at themselves hundreds of
right,
times a day as a
right.
social media thing. Yeah, it
So
can
yeah,
be
you can
scary. You do have to be mindful of that as well.
absolutely. There's but here's the thing. It's not as it's complicated, but it's not, because just like your one of the viewers, Colleen, had mentioned
Mhm.
about losing 40 pounds and how
That's
she's cleaned off.
amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
In
But
instance, yeah.
how much there's so much that's connected to our the weight issues. When a person is dealing with weight,
Mhm.
from that comes a lot of health issues. So when they
Mhm.
lose the weight, guess what happens?
Sometimes health issues disappear.
Absolutely. A
Mhm.
lot of times the diabetes, I'm not saying all, but a lot of times diabetes, as Colleen mentioned, it comes from weight.
Mhm.
And so when they lose the weight, they can eventually the diabetes disappears.
Mhm. And their
I won't say
lives are
disappears, but
lengthened,
yeah,
usually.
exactly. So
Mhm.
again, not in all cases, but a
Yeah.
lot of people's health issues are having to deal with being overweight.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when the weight issues are under control, some of their symptoms or different things that we're dealing with are go away. Acid
Mhm.
reflux and things of that nature, they
Mhm.
go away from because of the person's losing weight. And so I'm saying that to say is that it's the same thing in regards to people understanding themselves,
Mhm.
understanding their thought process. And when you can begin to harness, wrangle those in, if you will,
Mhm.
and like you said earlier, stop to think
Mhm.
rather than responding to instinct, you'll find out that your habits, man, I'm telling you, boy, oh man, that's good stuff. You'll find out your habits and our propensity to do certain things will find that those things will go away. It's
Mhm.
because the thoughts themselves have been left essentially to roam free.
Mhm. And I just putting this up for the viewers later.
Mhm.
And in fact, I'm going to see if I can copy that somehow. I'm going to jot this down because she's on. Colleen is on YouTube, which means her comments I think will disappear after the show ends. So I'm going to write down Blood Sugar
Solution.
Solution,
Mhm.
a book by Dr. Mark Hyman. I will put that in the show notes later so that
Mhm.
people watching this on Facebook or YouTube can definitely get that book. Thank you, Colleen, because good health is something you take advantage.
Absolutely.
Take for granted
Absolutely.
until you run into health problems.
Absolutely.
There's
Absolutely.
nothing really to fool around with, and a lot of us eat what we want to eat,
Hmm.
do what we want to do, and then we turn around and we're 500 pounds overweight, and it's like what happened? Because
Yeah.
it can sneak up on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It can sneak up on you, and it's best to be mindful of not just your feelings, but also
Mhm.
what you're ingesting.
Right.
You know, and
Absolutely.
also I have a friend named Blanche who explained that sometimes she got a hold of her eating problem by realizing that she was brought up when you're upset, you eat.
Hmm.
When you celebrate, you eat. Every emotion is the reaction is to eat.
Well, again, this
And
goes
she
back to
realized that she had to cut that out. and she lost a great deal of weight as well. So
But
she had to be mindful of not grabbing a cake every time you're feeling something.
absolutely, absolutely.
Whoa, Curtis disappeared. Wow, Colleen was a third generation diabetic. We definitely ended that. So I don't know. Let me post the link again if Curtis is unable to scroll up and get the link. So I'm going to stay here for another minute because Curtis's iPad might have died. I don't know. He might have to plug it in. And I know he wants to say goodbye properly. So let me just remind you that it was 57 degrees. I know we're supposed to get a high of 70. Let's see what it is now. Right now, it has gone all the way up to 64. Wow. So when I started the show, it was 57. It's now 64. It's going up to 70. It's going to be sunny all day here in Durham. And sunset's going to be at 6:55. And then tomorrow, it will be 68 and cloudy. So I think that's probably pretty much it for Curtis. I really enjoyed the conversation with Curtis. And I know we talked for quite a while. But if you want to share out this show, the beginning of the show, of course, I told you what's happening this weekend here in Durham. But I enjoyed that conversation so much that I think if you wanted to share this out so that more people can enjoy the conversation, I would really appreciate that. And Curtis did say, me posted, his iPad died, and that does happen. Sorry about that, Curtis, but that's okay. So drop in one day next week or whenever you want. Also, Curtis, there's going to be a mental and emotional wellness series emanating here from Durham. A friend of mine, Nakikia Wilson, every night, Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock, she's going to have a workshop on a different issue, relationships included, Black people's issues included. So Monday through Friday at 7, and then on Saturday, the last day, it will start at noon. So I want you to know about that, Curtis, because I think you might enjoy that. So, and I say noon, I think Texas is an hour behind, so 11 o'clock your time. So with that, have a beautiful day, everybody, and also have a beautiful weekend in its entirety. I will not be on the air tomorrow because I take Sundays off. So I will see you again Monday at noon Eastern time. Colleen, I'm going to, thank you for sharing, Colleen. I do appreciate it. And actually, I'm going to have a quick breakfast and then I'll call you, Colleen. So everybody have a great weekend and I will see you Monday at noon. Ciao for now.